Welcome back to Major Convos, episode 2.
We're back. It's a very familiar position.
It's just us again.
Just us. Come on.
Just us. Sorry, listeners. It's just our voices.
We're apologising. What an intro.
No apologies.
Jeez. Bit grim.
Excited for this episode because I get to hear you dominate the talking, which doesn't happen often.
It's unfamiliar territory, that one.
It is. So we're going to talk about you. No, we're going to talk about leadership. You've been fortunate enough to go and have some opportunities recently that I'd love for you to unpack for our listeners, because I think, you know, you've shared a lot of things with me, and I just reflecting on that, I was like, you know what, like this would be perfect for a pod, because there's a lot to get into, but just, and I'll let you explain what you've been doing and who, I hope you noted down who you got to listen to and whatnot, but business and professional sporting leaders from all over the world, which is pretty unique. So I thought, yeah, let's do a pod. Let's get into some of the lessons from that and tell some of the stories that you were told, share for our listeners that, yeah, because it was a pretty unique experience that I think most people wouldn't have the opportunity to do, and be grateful to hear your lessons from it.
Well, first, it's a great point. I feel very fortunate to have the possibility to do it. But the quick summary was that there was a leadership retreat in North Carolina at Duke University, which was an exciting opportunity to go to anyway, because just to see.
Did you know where Duke was?
No.
Did you know who Duke was?
I did know Duke because it's obviously one of the premier colleges in the US, but I've never been to one of the colleges to see the behind the scenes, the impressive standards and the level in which they operate college sport is. Yeah. And, you know, that word standards is so, you know, they repetitively use that, but encourage anyone to go for a wander around. If you're ever in the US, just for a wander around some of those colleges, the top end ones are next level.
Can you do that?
You can wander around them, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, but where we got to go behind the scenes and stuff, but not as available. Not as available, but they do take history tours. Like if you want to go see the Duke University's basketball team, they have a full walkthrough tour, and the passion. And again, there's just another level, another standard that they set around embracing history, recognizing history, celebrating the people that have created the dynasty that they are.
Yeah.
But it was a leadership event hosted by a guy called Jesse Itzler. He's a well-known entrepreneur in the US. Got really high energy, great storyteller, and he brought together some, sports players and coaches that he, resonates with. He's a big Duke fan. And I think he used his obviously network and so forth to bring that together. So some
no-name people, I imagine.
Yeah. So they had the likes of Coach K, who's retired now, but was the winningest basketball coach in the US, coached the US basketball team, coached Duke University for 40 years. They had Tom Brady. They had Kirby Scott, he's the a college NFL coach. They had the current coach for the Duke University's men's team and the current coach for the women's team both speak, as well as the coach for NBA Jazz. His name's, well, they call him Wojo, and all this, so everyone knows I'm not the biggest basketball fan, so it was but totally respect them creating a team culture and leadership of people to make a winning culture.
It crosses over.
And it really crosses over. And you and I have aligned on that, being in a sports team, being in a team, it's not about one person. And I think there's a lot of crossover in team sports. So exposure to team sports is really powerful for anyone growing up, and I think it's a great thing to stay involved with as you get a little bit older, and it's a bit harder when you get older because you get a bit sorer, but I still think it's good to stay in. So that was the premise. It was hosted at the university. We got to go and see behind the scenes in the football area, but also most particularly the basketball area. And
I am a basketball fan for those listening, so I was very jealous. Not that I'm a Duke fan, but
yeah. Well, there's the hate,
but I knew all the people.
The hate was the hate and love is next level over there. They talk about fanatics, or the word fanatic is
it's legit.
It's legit, and it's another level. The college kids will camp out for 10 weeks in the cold of winter to be the first ticket holder for their first basketball, like in tents and so forth.
Epic, eh?
And if they don't have a team, their team tent, if one of them doesn't report in, they lose their spot and so forth. So it was crazy to see that fanatical environment, but an amazing experience. Hosted really authentically, posted very casually, which was different to others. There was a lot of movement as well. We got up and walked from different sessions. We got up early, went for a walk. They did saunas at the end of the day.
That's
I really
cool.
loved the way it was.
Did you stay on the campus?
No,
they had
nearby. There was
they set all that up, obviously.
Yeah, not in the campus, no, but within walking distance. So that was really great from other traditional events you go to where you sit in a big convention center and just listen to someone talk. It was sort of broken up and it was casual, but really informative and really cool. So
why does he put that together? Does he just see the crossover of leaders in professional sport and business? Is that part of it, or what's the premise of it?
He's at an age in life where he's been pretty successful in a different few businesses. He's done it with a team, not himself singularly. He likes doing adventure stuff. He likes learning. He likes basketball. And he thought, well, I'll bring those three passions together and host it and bring some people together. It was very intimate. I think there was less than 50 people.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we got some really close-up conversations. And
why did you go? What were you looking for?
The power of...
Or expectations, I should say.
I think if you go with expectations, you're sometimes can be disappointed. So I didn't have any expectations other than I wanted to learn from another cup. And I think learning comes in not just reading books, not just listening to podcasts, but being immersed in an environment with people that were high performers. And there was other business people there that you got to meet, and they were from a diverse group of people. I was the only Australian there, but there were people from Canada and some from Europe and majority America. But you learn from just being in it, when you're walking along and listening to some of their stories. And
first impressions when you arrived?
First impressions in the session?
Just the whole, because how did the experience start? Were you just introduced to the whole group, or what was the format?
They went into one of the private training rooms for the basketball team. That's where Tom Brady came on and spoke. And
good way to start.
But prior to him, him coming and speaking, it was there was a short introduction from each person. He sort of talked about why he was doing it, and which I briefly shared, and then also wanted to hear from other people about where they were from and what they were about and what they were looking for. And I think my saying is learning is leverage. If you keep learning, you can leverage and do more, create more, and that's why I was there. So ultimately, coming back to your question, I was just hoping to learn here, see different things. Coach K is you can't keep doing something for 40 years and not have some recipe that works.
Yeah.
And
you said on the last pod that, what did he say? The players stayed the same age, but he kept getting older.
Yeah. And it was a great insight. That was the problem with his job, is that they all seemed to stay the same age and he kept on getting older. So he had to evolve his leadership and meet with the people and stuff. And listening to him, he spoke for 90 minutes, in this very small room. It was very powerful. And he was another person that I think he doesn't say a lot, but when he does speak, he says little, but he says a lot in a short amount of time. That's what I guess I was hoping to learn, some leadership techniques, from different experts in the world, and hopefully bring it back and share it with our leaders and other people, and and ultimately make better people back here. So, and I do think I got heaps out of it. Got lots of snippets, lots of notes, lots of different things from different people. And then, the one I was sharing it earlier with you, like there's so many one-liners that were great, but the women's coach of Duke University, she said something so cool, and she goes, we listened to all these like shock. They don't use the shock jock. They have a term for the commentators, the announcers on the in all this and she said
there's announcers, there's analysts.
Yeah, they have the announcers, analysts, and then they had another like
term.
Not a nice term, I think, for those people. And she said, if you're a commentator on your people, so all you do if all you do is blame your people or speak about your people, you're nothing but a commentator. You're not a leader. And I thought it was a really powerful point. You can't just be commentating on people. And there's no shortage, as she said, there's no shortage of commentators in the US about,
especially on sport.
That's right.
You said before, it's a different level.
She goes,
everyone's an expert.
That's right. And sometimes some of them never turn off it's not worth turning on the commentary pitch or not even looking at the news because it's so bad. There was one of the other coaches there. He says the great thing about leadership and team, you're only a week away from humility. So it doesn't sneak up on you, and your ego gets checked very quickly. So you're constantly reminded to keep working on yourself. And in business, that doesn't always happen, or it takes a bit longer. But in sport, a week, you can be loved or hated in a very short period of time.
That's true. Side note, but just a random thing, thinking about where you were. I always am blown away with, especially the US college stuff that you're talking about, the Duke and whatnot. The athletes that are now earning money, which is great, but the standards that they are held to, effectively in preparation for those that are going to go on to further careers in professional sport, but at their age to be able to behave the way they do. And I know there's probably outliers of that, but typically the standards that they're held to at 18, 19, 20 years of age is epic. That in itself just blows my mind when I think about it. And I followed the sport over there, and I constantly look at that, and I'm like, they're a young man or young woman who's still figuring themselves out. They play a sport, and they're being scrutinized on every level, not just the play on the field or on the court, but literally everywhere they go at that age, with stardom, fame, and money and everything that comes with it, to be able to, that's incredible. They must do coaching and things. I'm sure they must do a lot of work on that as well.
They spend a lot of time on values, and standards. So, the values you hold. Coach K was big on learning, meeting, going, and he'd get on a plane and follow someone
to get to know them.
Yeah, they would fly. The kid would come out and they'd do their campus tour. And he would be known to get on the plane with them and go back to their home and see what their background, where they'd come from, who they were really about, because he wanted to understand what their values were and their standards that they had. And some of them come from different walks of life, and this will be their breakout life opportunity.
Oh, yeah, it's a game changer for them,
And, others, it was different for them, but they had to have a common values alignment, and then the standards they set around each other. It was his constant conversation. That is what led to their culture of success, is that, he wanted to have high standards, but it was very much come back to what were the values that they were going to hold. And he repetitively talked about that. And I think, reading between the lines, I think lots of stuff, the competitive nature of college sport over there is seeming to get a bit more controlled or regulated, maybe, because it was getting pretty loose around what they were doing before and after, trying to attract the right people and so forth. And
I gave you a crash course on basketball specifically before you left. Some of that stuff is crazy.
But some of these basketball players would just go for one. They called it one and done.
Yeah,
they go for one. Literally, they would never and they talked about the impact on that in culture because they knew these people were going to, and so then they talked about how a person's influence in that time while they're one and done means that they were just coming for 1 year, play college because they needed to before they could go into the NBA.
Eligibility.
Now they are talking about paying these college players, and they were paying some of them under the table from what I learned.
Yeah.
But now they are making, like, some of them are going to be getting paid big dollars to play at college.
Yeah. 10 mil.
Yeah. And keep them at college. So, and then, you know, that was like a whole nother thing of behind the scenes, like the endowment funds of these people that, like, you know, it's not like millions of dollars, it's tens of millions of dollars that they past alumni of the universities are donating because they so want the winning.
That's why they were doing it.
It's mega, mega. And the biggest sponsors get I took a photo of it, like a tiny wooden seat in the bleachers of the stadium with their name on it. And like, I think that person had they'd donated like $40 million or something.
Holy smokes.
Yeah. So
it's a different system. Hey, the structure of it's impressive.
It was impressive, but there was so much learning in that, like just watching how you walked around, the power of recognizing history and the legacy and the standards that they held, and then why they, you know, the next generation who's coming in, why these standards mattered and how they linked that to it, and maintaining that. And it never went away. You know, 40 years of constant conversation, the same thing. And he started with 2 principles, which were tell the truth and look people in the eye when you do it. And everything starts there. And that starts with having uncomfortable conversations. But then not just for him to do it, but for all of the team to do that. And to
How did you get their buy-in for that?
Well, he described it. He talked about what it meant and showed them. These big beliefs, you can't just tell people, you've got to actually show them what that means. And when that's like, tell the truth and look people in the eye when you do it, it's look for the good in why they're doing that. So if you're playing poorly, you want that person who's playing with you to say, hey, Corey, you know, I'm seeing it from a different angle here, but I just want to tell you, like, maybe if you did this differently, and see that truth and look them in the eye when you do it. Don't look around it or tell someone else to tell them. Yeah. And for you to take that in a way that it's meant to be intended, in a positive manner because you win together. There's no player that singularly wins the team. And, you know, Coach K's got experience because he had to coach the US
men's basketball team.
And I'll come back to that. But those 2 principles, and you know, that comes back to having uncomfortable conversations and so forth. But, you know, stuff that we talk around here is, you know, trust and so forth, having uncomfortable conversations. Another thing that he said most powerfully is the ability, speed to trust. How do you get speed to trust? Well, it comes back to those 2 principles. You've got to get to know, and you've got to get to be on people's level and get to know them and what they're about. So he would deeply connect with them, understand who they are, have one-on-ones, go and meet what's their background, so he could have some commonality, some connectivity, what's something similar to them. He'd sit down and do casual dinners with them, or just to build that rapport. And the faster he could build that trust, and he said that was secret sauce, like the speed to trust, you will be ahead of anyone else the faster you can get there.
From afar, that's something that I saw, like being someone that follows basketball and college basketball, and knowing about Coach K. That was something that I think resonates with people that have been under his tutelage. They all come back to the human side of him and how he connected with them, and was not just a coach, you know, for basketball. He was almost like we've always talked about, right? Like with coming back to our trainers, you know, they're not just trainers; they're doing a lot of other things. Yeah. When they're engaging with people, he did that very well. You know, he connected with the person first. To your point,
that was what he was all about. He wants to know the human, wants to understand who they are. It's hard to create influence and connectivity with somebody if you don't see their version of the world. And I think he was deeply interested in getting to know the people. And he said that he didn't miss coaching, but he missed the relationship part of what he did.
What's he doing now? Just quickly, do you know?
He's doing advisory to the whole NBA, college,
NCAA.
and all that.
NCAA. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's he's nearing 80, I think. So still sharp.
He's sharp
still sharp as ever.
It's incredible, eh?
Coming back to him, he talked about the US and I'm a big believer in ego is the enemy and so forth. And he sort of influenced a different perspective of that for me. When he was coaching the US basketball team, he was coaching some superstar players, but he singled out Kobe Bryant and LeBron James, and he's like, "You're not telling those two guys to leave their egos at the door. Like they're the best players in the world.
Yeah.
But you have to understand how do you get the best out of them, and so he actually spoke about a specific example and them leading up into the Olympics and how he had to talk to Kobe Bryant about his position and what he was doing.
Yeah, Kobe wasn't renowned for being a team player all the time.
Yeah. But he got deeply connected with him, and they, and again, another lesson is like often might look at, we'll hear an organization about great culture in that organization and so forth. And people would talk about Duke University's basketball system. They got a great culture, but you can't just pick that up and put it into another organization, which was the US basketball team. So they had to create their own. Yeah. And they had to create their own because it was a different environment. It was a different environment, different people, different level, different expectations. They're having the whole country on this. So it was really powerful that you can't just think of going and picking up a person who's working in a great culture and just chuck them in and it's going to work. You have to actually get back to the fundamentals. What are we about? Get the people involved, get back to that and rebuild it. And that's what they did.
And the people have to be a part of it. Yeah. Yeah. It's not just something that he just set. He had to get their buy-in and make them a part of it.
And it doesn't take a weekend. Like what they did have beneficially was that that US team went for a run for quite a few years. I think it was it was 7 or 8 years where the people were similar. And so they were able to, and that's the thing, like you can't go to a weekend retreat and reset your culture and be like, oh, we're all good.
We're sweet now.
Yeah. It's like consistency, consistent people, consistent language, constantly reminded of, brought up at every occasion. That was another great example where he's like the culture stuff, like they would talk about, they're talking about trust. Well, what does trust look like on the actual, like when they're in?
So give examples.
On the actual, when you were playing, what does trust like? That's trust that the person's going to be in the right spot where the collective responsibility. If someone gets a hoop on us, it wasn't just one person. It was
I love that you learned the lingo.
Oh, I did, mate. I even got to shoot on the court, and I got to shoot on the basketball court. I was embarrassing.
I saw the video, mate.
I wasn't getting selected for the first.
No. I watched that video and I did cringe a little.
It went in though.
Did it?
Yeah, I don't know. One of them did. One of them did. But
you were talking about standards. Can we just unpack that a little bit further and I guess bringing it to the business side of things? What is it that you took from that in particular? Because I know we have values here at Major and I know that they're dear to us and they're a lot about how we do things. We talked about standards even before you went on that trip. We were actually using that word, interestingly. But was there something that they talked about with that crossover that you took from a business perspective, or?
Well, like standards are personal standards. Mm-hmm. So, if you've got which personal standards are character, we've talked about character and so forth. Like the leadership standards, what we expect of each other and so forth. But nothing starts without the standards we set. You can't have if we're not clear and we don't provide clarity on what the standards we want to have around here, if everyone shows up late to meetings, that was one of their things. He didn't mention which name it was, but
they're big on the meetings thing.
Big on he was huge on one-on-ones, big on when we're having a team meeting, and you remember the egos that he's got in a room with the US basketball team and the entourage and the dollars and the works of all that stuff. Like one of their things was be on time.
Yeah.
And be on time doesn't mean be there when the time starts.
Yeah.
It says be on time and be ready to start at that time.
Yeah.
And that's, and they went on to he went on to different varieties of standards, but one of the most important is to be on time. And I don't care if you're the superstar of that team over there when you're
everyone's held to the same standards.
Right. And then they were all held to the same standard. He was on time. And when what meant to be on time, they gave clarity. Clarity meant to be there before the time to start because we were starting at this time.
Yeah, I've listened to something with him before and he talked similarly about clear expectations. I'm assuming he would have talked about that. You've mentioned a few of those things already. But that's one of his things is like the standards are clear for everyone. There's no ambiguity about it. He makes it very clear about what the expectations are.
No, without doubt. And they have them, they have them up on a wall. You walk through their standard. They're constantly reminded you're in the players' special zone, which was like, I don't even think some of the best performing or the highest level of sports teams in Australia have some of the level that they had for their college team.
College, yeah.
But they had their standards up on the wall and they didn't have it in one spot. They had it. They constantly reminded. They're giving it in their notebooks. They're it's and then when they show up to their meetings, when they're on court, they're repetitively talking about the standards that they want them to hold.
So is that something that you can take away? That I guess from a business perspective, making is it very visual? Is what you're saying? It's a visual cue as well as there's the conversations and all that other stuff, but there's lots of visual cues to kind of like.
I mean, we talk about it, and I spoke to some leaders recently about we've all been in an organisation or walked past a wall that's got values on the wall and no one knows what they are. Or there's a long list, and even one of the other coaches talked about things being in action. They didn't talk about words just being words. They wanted action words. So you took action with whatever that values were. And what most of them all repetitively said was it's not about the words on the wall. It's about recognising it in the field, on the court, or outside the court when someone shows those standards. So you have to so it just becomes the language that we talk around here.
Yeah.
Like it's not words on a wall. It's actually how we do things around here. And you have to do it. And one thing, giving clarity was he did talk about clarity all the time, but he also said you've got to recognize that quite often when we're having difficult conversations, we're always talking about you've actually got to also celebrate the good. So when you see someone out there and they're playing your values, it's like, hey, that was
recognize.
Yeah, absolutely talk about that. Because if it's like getting in trouble all the time. If it's only for
it's only the negative.
It's only the negative versus, and so again, I think I walked away thinking, well, I believe, could we do better? Yes, I think we could do better in that. But are we totally missing that? No, we do talk about that. We do that in how we do,
it's a constant thing that needs to evolve and we want to get better at it, right?
Yeah.
I made a note of, like something that I've listened to from him, just on the back of that is that he talks about that those standards create a pride in someone. Like they actually then become proud of carrying those standards, and that's what ultimately the job is done without him being in the room. And I know we talk about culture and, it's when you're not around, everyone's got pride in their own contributions to good standards and good culture. Like
it's how things get done around here when you're not in the room. Yeah. And they tie them to the standards. And that's why they talk about the legacy of, what it's like to put on the blue, the Blue Devils. And it's so deeply beyond you're looking after the people that went before you and why it matters around here and that these aren't going away. And
they do such a good job of that in the college system over there. Like they really do. You become diehard, like you said before, the fanatic thing, but
they are diehard. Well, their stadium, people have said, I think their stadium fits just under 8,000 people. And people say, you need to make it bigger. And comparatively to a football stadiums over there for college are like 40 to 70,000.
Well, I think the top, I could be wrong, fact checks, but I'm pretty sure of the biggest stadiums in the US, most of them are college stadiums.
Yeah.
Like there's some that are 100,000. I'm pretty sure they're all related to the college. There's a couple of NFL teams in there, but
they do it
big.
Well, they talk about traditions and standards and like holding them, all that center is they've pushed back. They have the seats are still the traditional seats from like when it was first built, because the standards
That's crazy
in today's world would not allow the amount of seats in the room.
Yeah.
So they've got these seats that are like wedged in corners and all sorts of stuff.
8,000 doesn't sound like enough either though. Like for a Duke home game
No,
in basketball, like they'd be hanging off the bloody bleachers. Like,
it is. It's like squeezed in there, and you walk in there and it's pretty crazy. Even the flooring and like the accidental part of flooring, they talk about traditions, and that's what I mean. Like there's repetitive things that come back to, and it's being consistent. But that someone wanted them to change the floor color, but then something happened, so they decided that they were going to stick with that. That's why they have that really white looking floor.
Oh yeah.
And now that's just what they're known for.
Yeah.
And they're not changing that. Like
of course,
for the color of money,
that's what makes them unique.
So yeah, there was. He had so many things that he shared in a short period of time that were really powerful, and consistency, doing it repetitively for such a long period of time has created the real leverage. And I think that's one thing that we keep trying to do. And anyone who's trying to build a culture, it doesn't happen overnight. It's being consistent, doing the same thing regularly, not changing the words you use 100 different times. Like they're still sticking with the same stuff.
Yeah.
They call it the fist, and they have it tied to 5 different pillars of what they do, and they repetitively talk about that when they're doing their coaching sessions, and they're giving feedback on the court about how you should. Were you having collective responsibility with that? Like it was, like it's not him that's leaving the team, and so did any of them have a different view? Like were you listening to different people, and sometimes someone would say something that might have been a little contradictory to a listener you'd had previous. You know what I mean? Like. Well, my points of view were different. Like, they talk about serving leaders and all this stuff. Tom Brady he was really powerful in what he said. His theory was there was some leaders who want to be all loved.
Yeah. And
there's some leaders who want to be all feared.
Yeah.
And some leaders that all want to be respected. And the way you get those can be all different. You can be the feared leader where you're like, you hold really high standards, you're involved in everything, you're getting aggro all the time, and everyone's fearful of you and the response you have.
Yeah. So basically you to me.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's so right. And
Matthew 10K 101.
That was version 1, mate. But as we've talked about, there's an evolution, but his view is that a great leader should be all 3 of those.
Yeah.
And that you should.
How do you balance that?
And that's the skill.
Yeah.
Is that you can't. His belief is that you can't be all feared, because if you have all feared, people aren't talking the truth and telling it, calling it how it is. You can't be all loved, because then you're not getting real with what's wrong. Mm-hmm. You can be respected, but then maybe they're doing it for the wrong reasons and so forth. So you need to have all 3 of those, and finding that balance, and how you do that. You can influence people, and then understanding how people respond to different feedback. And he talked about some players that he played with and how he got the best out of them. And people, he's a leader because he had to lead the team. And even though there was a coach and so forth, he was still leading a lot on the fields, and he did it repetitively in different places. But he's like, you have to know your people, and you can be respected or feared or loved, or they'll show up, they'll love because they respect you.
Yeah.
As he got better,
people
were showing up for him because they really respected him. The others loved him. There was some that feared him but he had to know who they were. So he talked about a couple of players, and he's like, one of them, if I told him how much I loved him and how great he was, he didn't want to do anything. But if I told him how shit he was, like, mate.
Yeah. So to the point of knowing people, he's got to know what buttons to press. Yeah,
that's right. So
it's not a one size fits all approach. He has to adapt his approach based on the people around him. Yeah,
but he got all 3,
which is great leadership.
But to drive one person by telling them how shit they were, even though they weren't. But he just like, what did you sleep in? Did you sleep in today, or did you not have a good sleep? Like just saying stuff on the field, like to get them riled up. Yeah. Whereas another one would say, hey, did you see such and such? Like he liked the competition, so he wanted to compare him to somebody. He's like, oh, that standard that guy set the other day, like, are you dropping the ball kind of thing, and that would push somebody else. Versus
that's interesting.
If another person wanted to be the one who was always at the front, his feedback was different. But if you looked at all of the people that spoke, they all had their own tune but they all came back to a very similar model, which was they had their most powerful. I think the most powerful thing was don't try and copy anyone. Be authentic. Take great things from different people, but be authentic in how you lead people. And they all had a different flavor, but they all, I think, sung the same tune around culture, trust. How do you connect with people and so forth. I think that was the biggest takeaway from me.
Yeah. So there was some, I guess, again, bringing it into like business, some of the things you've said there, like, so it's really important getting to know people, having the standards, having the people be a part of, understanding what those standards mean, the clarity behind that, the expectations, and then having real conversations.
Yeah.
And making eye contact.
Yes, that's
but
very
like
true.
in summary, those are the sort of the 4 or 5 things that are really paramount to what they said across the board.
Yeah. And
consistency of that, and
and some people don't like it.
Yeah.
Like,
did they talk about that at all?
Yeah. And they get uncomfortable and they depart, and then you see them.
That's how they view it. They just view it as they don't fit this culture, or
these are the standards we have around here, and it might be uncomfortable for them that like they
that resonates.
Yeah. Well, and it's unfamiliar to them.
But it's okay. Yeah, that's the part that I think needs to be probably that's the part I want to just emphasize for this pod, is that's okay.
That's right.
Like, you don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to fit the culture, and that's okay. And having trust, like these really honest conversations, that's really uncomfortable for some people, and they've never experienced that in their career. And so whether they're willing to evolve, and that was some of the principles they talked about. You've got to be adaptable, and you've got to be willing to change and evolve in time. And if you're not willing, you'll find the place that you're meant to be. And if you have the standards that hold those really important, then ultimately time will have them depart.
Fair. I guess any notes or points on things that we, I guess, for our listeners and for us at Major, anything that any particular things that you think we can improve on, or that people should be focused on outside of that? Because that's I feel like that's such a great foundation for leadership, culture, the standards. And probably just another thing to add to the 5 things I said before is this. I think it was 5. The 6th one is being true to yourself, like not copying. You can't pick it up from somewhere else and just drop it in your business or your culture, right? You've got to have your flavor to it.
Yeah.
It's got to be authentic to you, right?
There's no doubt. And I mean, we've faced that most recently in, a change from Churchill. We took that business over and they had their culture, and it was a good, different, but and not the way we do things, but it wasn't good or bad. It was just
it's just different. Yeah, and different people.
And there's an evolution for everyone to navigate, and we have the job of not changing that too fast, but taking people on the journey and what are we about and so forth. And I think most people face that in any, you go to a different culture, a different organization, but you can't just pick one up and just chuck it in there and it's going to work. It was a good aha moment for me in that space.
Yeah.
But there was lots of, I encourage people to keep on learning and listening to different people's perspective in, those environments, because that's where you get gold from. And I walked away and thought there's a lot of stuff that I think we do. It's not there, it's not a copy of them, but it has the same tune.
Yeah.
And we don't get it right, and they don't get it right every day. And
but the intent is consistent.
The intent is consistent, and we want to have a great culture here. We want to trust each other. We want to give people a go, and we don't criticize people for getting it wrong and so forth. But we want to learn and adapt and evolve. And if they're willing to do that, then we'll keep moving forward. That's what they're about. They don't focus on the humility of the week that was.
Yeah.
That's how do we get better? How do we show up, reset, keep going? And that's business. I think it's very closely aligned.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's also, I think for business, it's encouraging to hear people of that stature in their environment talk about not always getting it right.
Yeah.
Because, that like they're in the most, like we talked about earlier, the highest stress / pressure of all, probably. And we all face that, like the stresses and pressures of business and deadlines and whatever it is in your industry. But at their level, with the dollars that are backing that whole thing, to also know that they don't always get it right, is comforting.
Yeah, and someone asked that Tom Brady a question, and he was real humble about what he's working on.
Yeah,
and he
about like personally what he's working on personally.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He was still very humble.
Yeah.
In saying now he's still got work to do on his morning routine and how he operates his day, and again, none of them said they had it perfect.
Yeah.
There's a guy that's been doing it for nearly 80, or 40 years doing it, and that was very powerful. I think in just. You have to keep on going, and they'll get a lesson every day, and they keep on showing up. So yeah, it was a great experience. I'm trying to think of who else was some really standout points. That lady who was her point about you can't be a commentator if you're a leader. You got to get in them, show them, and there was another story there about sometimes you got to show people what it's like. The winning, I think I told you the story about the horse and the horse that kept coming second, and that two of the guys, Tom Brady and another guy, owned a horse, and it always kept coming second. And they said, the horse came second, and Tom Brady's like, no, the standards are we come first. He's like, this fucking horse needs to know what it's like to win. Get it in a race that it's going to fucking win.
It's going to win so that it knows how it feels.
Yeah, and then the guy's like, Tom, it's a horse. He's like, I don't give a shit. It's a fucking horse.
He holds horses to the same standard.
Yeah, that's right. He holds horses to the same standard. So he's like, get this horse in a race and let's make sure it fucking wins. Because once it knows what winning's like, it won't
want to come second.
It won't want to come second.
Well,
and I thought,
how do you do that?
Interesting analogy. But the theory is that as a leader, you got to show people what it's like, because sometimes they haven't seen it. And coming back to the fear of having difficult conversations, they're not going away. You have to have them. Sometimes people haven't seen them, and they'll either embrace them or they won't. But part of a winning culture and a winning business is having the difficult conversations, calling out the behaviors, having the standards around here. If you see someone who's not acting in the manners that you hope that other people are confident enough to call that out. And that's how you protect your culture, and you keep on winning. It's easy to erode it quickly. Yeah.
Everything you just said, like all the takeaways from that trip, like loved it. Super powerful. Lots of simple points though. Like I like the simplicity of the way they got the message across without kind of overcomplicating it, which is kind of human nature to do. They do a good job of that. And leadership isn't about the title. It's about behavior.
Yeah.
That was pretty.
That's a great state. Yeah. It's not about status. It's about behavior. Yeah.
Because someone like that who could get up, Brady, Mike, Kay, like Coach K, like they could get up there and talk about all their accolades and how good they are and what made them, you know what I mean? But to be able to
no doubt
simplify it, talk about all the good, all the things that matter, and really talk about it in simple terms, but also broad terms rather than specific to them. It's like these are things that just can be replicated. They're not specific to me. They're not specific to Duke or the NFL. Like they're just great fundamentals that you can implement.
Yeah, and I think you hit it. You actually hit it bang on there. It's simple stuff done consistently, but it's not done. It's not done often, and that's why we overcomplicate things. But come back to simple. Be consistent. Do it long enough. Be focused on it long enough. The results will come. Yeah, that's what they did. And like Coach K, he he nearly got sacked when there was people who wanted him sacked. Like he wasn't performing in the first 3 years, and they had people who believed in him, and and that was probably another thing I took away is you got to have believers, people who believe in you as the leader, but also people who believe in following. Well, yeah, and following you, and because they're the ones who are going to share the message. And he talked about that. Like, imagine the dynasty of Duke if they'd sacked him.
Yeah.
In the first 3 years, he had everyone after him, all the alumni. He was gone.
Really?
And the people that stuck with him were some of the people who were leading the college, and look at what he was consistent. Yeah, kept showing up.
They believed in the vision of where it was going, not necessarily what it was at the time.
That's right. They believed in his values, and he kept showing up, and he did it long enough, and they got there. And he's had some amazing accolades, but he still got humbled. Even in the last game, you'd think they wanted to send him out with a win, and he didn't. But he didn't. He's not stuck on that perfect send off. It was all the stuff that he did, and the relationships and the people, and he still talks to all these players.
Oh, the respect of him is incredible. Yeah.
So, I think he had everyone. They loved him, feared him, and respected him.
Great balance. Great episode, mate. Great chat. Thanks for sharing. And
it was awesome.
It was a great trip, and to be able to share some of the takeaways, I hope people enjoyed that episode and hearing some of those things that they can use for themselves in personal life, business life. They're good messages regardless of where they come from. So
I want to leave with one other point though, because I thought
let's keep it going, mate. We got all the time.
No, I think I got the opportunity. It was unique because I connected with someone who was a shareholder in Berkshire Hathaway, which is Warren Buffett's organization.
Just name dropping at this point.
Well, anyway, I got to go to that event.
Clout? Are you looking for clout?
No, I wasn't going. But
all right,
I want the messages that I want to leave you with is that that is a mega business with many CEOs that many businesses. A multi-trillion-dollar business that has many CEOs. And you may believe that you can't have values or standards across those types of organizations. He is a person of real values and conviction about who he is, and he doesn't care the scale of their business, the culture that they have, and how the values that they hold. If they make a mistake or something doesn't go right, how they address that is fundamentally who he is. And you saw that in terms of across all of their CEOs, the ones that got up and spoke at that event, they had really strong values about what they did and how they looked after their customers, and also what they did for their people. And if things didn't go wrong, and they shared a clip of Warren owning when there was a big mistake in one of the organizations that they had owned a long time ago, and he owned it, got up in front, took it all on. He may not have been the person that was making the decisions, but he took ultimate ownership of it, and said, we'll make it right. And that's what he did. And so my point in that story is that it doesn't matter what scale you can be, there's a belief that you potentially can lose culture or values or standards as you scale. I think the most important thing is if you put it at the front of your priorities, it will matter and it will stay there. And he's able to do that in a multi-complex business that has many CEOs in different industries and so forth, but they still have high standards and high values of how they're going to show up. And I think, for anybody who's scaling, you can do it if you make it intentional.
Good message. Good chat, mate. Appreciate it.
All good. See you next time.
Yeah, we'll be back soon. And
do I get invited next time?
You did. I reckon we should calculate how much talking you did. You did a lot. It was good.
Oh, that's good.
But really good.
Unlike you,
really good messages. I hope people got something out of that. I certainly did, and I think that just really powerful stuff that you don't always get access to those types of people, and
no.
Yeah, so definitely a privilege for you and for us to hear it, and hopefully our listeners get something out of it too. We'll be back soon with another episode. Thanks for joining us, and smash that subscribe button. That's going to become the thing, right? Because the boys are telling me we've got to get people subscribed. So is that right? Subscribe. Yep.
Is it? Oh, wasn't it?
Smash that subscribe button.
You got no,
Smash the like button. I don't know.
Give your son
I
the
gotta ask
credit.
my son.
Give your son the credit.
Give me a sign off. I need him to sort something out for us. But great episode. Thanks, guys. We'll catch you soon.
Thank you.